good as their male competition. Or better. Yet here they were, Jill with a drill held at an angle across her chest, Heather on her haunches, wearing a hard hat and wielding a hammer, and Trenton standing at the opposite corner of the building, circular saw held aloft. As if anyone would willy-nilly slice a board in two in the middle of the air. Aunt Blue was also in the picture, but she'd been positioned in a rocker inside the open door. The four of them were doing their best to showcase how it had all begun, all the while knowing that the calendar being created to raise money for the elementary school would only garner them more calls, for more she-sheds. "Got it!" The photographer lowered her camera. Her voice was way too perky for that early on a Sunday morning. "Now, let's do one last shot. Something a little different this time." Jill stood quietly, awaiting her next directive, and wishing any other photographer could have been chosen for the project. She'd never met the other woman in person before today, but Jill had been aware of her, and she'd certainly seen her around town. Marcy Hammery, the daughter of the senior partner of the town's largest law firm. The woman currently dating Jill's ex. Jill narrowed her eyes as the other woman puckered her mouth, seeming to contemplate how she wanted to pose them next, and had the thought that lips like Marcy's couldn't possibly be that naturally full. Though the brunette was several years younger than Jill, surely she'd had work done to get that mouth. "I want Trenton on the roof," Marcy decided, a nail gun in hand, straddling the top. Jill frowned. The roof wasn't installed with a nail gun. It's aluminum and glass. She was ignored. "And Heather on a step stool. I want you dusting off the plaque with one hand," Marcy told Heather as she moved a rustic-looking stool into the shot and handed over a feather duster, "while holding a watering can over the window box with the other." A watering can appeared, and Jill's blood pressure spiked. The picture was going to look stupid, and not just because Heather would have her body contorted in two different directions. They were a construction crew. They shouldn't be dusting anything. But as Heather shot a pinched look, first at the duster, and then at the plaque hanging above the door christening the shed as Blue's Business, Trenton murmured a sound of agreement and moved a ladder to the side of the building. She grabbed a nail gun and began climbing. The jeans and fitted tee she'd worn for the photos were her norm for work, but she'd let herself be talked into using hot rollers on her hair. Blonde waves fell over her shoulders, giving a softer, more romantic look than the no-frills version Jill had always known Trenton to wear. This wasn't them. Nothing about this setup was real. "And for Jill," the photographer turned back to her, "I want you standing just inside the building, at Blue's side." Aunt Blue had barely uttered a word throughout the morning, and though she sat in the midst of the starter plant she was known for, Jill knew her foster mother had to hate how the rocker, that had also shown up with Marcy, portrayed her as a quiet, soft-spoken little woman. Blue was anything but someone's little woman, but she would do anything for her girls. She also had a weak spot for every child in need, so participating in a fundraiser for elementary school children was right up her alley. "Put your left hand on the back of the rocker, feet shoulder-width apart," Marcy instructed Jill as her focus dropped to resetting the dials of her camera. "And tuck the drill into your tool belt. Hold it as if you're holstering a gun." No one said a word. The instructions, however, finally brought Blue to her feet. Marcy looked up at the sound of movement. "A drill doesn't go in a tool belt," Aunt Blue informed her. Marcy blinked. "Pardon?" "A drill does not go in a tool belt," Aunt Blue repeated. She stepped onto the cobblestone path that led from the house to the door of the 10-by-12 building. A drill does not belong in a tool belt had been one of the first lessons they'd learned after arriving at Bluebonnet Farms. Jill had been 14, Heather only 6 months behind her, and Trenton 12. They'd all shown up within the same week, the first girls Blue had taken in, and their foster mother had wasted no time starting what she called their must-have lessons for life. Lesson number 11 had come about when Jill had snagged a drill and tool belt.